Like most elected Republicans, MAGA Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado is furious about her state Supreme Court's decision to kick the constitutionally ineligible insurrectionist, Donald Trump, off the ballot. But in an exceptionally delusional interview with Newsmax, Bobert claims that Democrats are attacking democracy and Democrats are afraid they can't win free and fair elections, and that Democrats nullifying the wishes of Trump voters is wrong. And the irony in all of these claims is much too thick for us to ignore, so we got to talk about it. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. All right, friends, we've got a couple of clips to play from the single interview. Brace yourselves because the lack of self-awareness and the cringe-inducing irony is almost toxic. Okay, so brace yourselves, and we'll unpack them together.
Well, I'm very, very much ashamed of our liberal Supreme Court here in Colorado. The decision to remove President Trump from the primary ballot in Colorado is a complete slap in the face to our constitutional republic. The party who says that they are there to protect democracy are undermining voters and voters' confidence in our elections. This is election interference to its fullest and nothing but an act of fear from the left. They are terrified to have President Trump on the ballot because they know that he is going to win.
So again, in such a short amount of time, there was a lot of crazy and incoherence there. And I don't script these, so I've got to I'm trying to do this in real time. So let's go backwards. So she said that we're afraid, those of us on the left, Democrats, were afraid of Donald Trump on the ballot. Certainly, we don't want him to win. Certainly, we would prefer he's not on the ballot because he's a fascist. But we beat him before. We beat him in 2020 when you all said we wouldn't. We did. And with the exception of 2016, Donald Trump's leadership of the Republican Party is a tale of one defeat after another. The guy is a loser. And so are you, by the way, Lauren Boebert. Number one. Number two, you say it's a slap in the face to our constitutional republic to bring this lawsuit. Well, the lawsuit is predicated on a constitutional amendment, part of the Constitution, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which holds that if you took an oath to support the Constitution and then you break that oath by engaging in insurrection or aiding and abetting an insurrection, then you're ineligible to hold public office. It's pretty clear. And again, the case was litigated in front of a district court. It went to the Colorado Supreme Court. It's going to be, reviewed by the U.S. Supreme Court, and they're very likely to overturn it. So just chill. But this is actually part and parcel of the Democratic Republic. And then she says Democrats, are undermining democracy. Well, hang on, wait a minute. Isn't it you and your party who says all the time, we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic? Well, if that's the case, then we should be able to appeal to the Constitution. And if we have a constitutional basis to kick your guy off, then what's the problem with that? Aren't those your rules? Isn't that what you do in a constitutional republic? It's not about democracy, right? Now, obviously, that's not what I believe, but that's what they believe when it's convenient to them. And then she says stuff like, Democrats are undermining faith in elections. Really? You and Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz and Donald Trump and everybody, the entire Republican Party has been predicated for years on undermining the results of democratic elections and undermining election confidence and election integrity, right? Trump said in 2016 that the election was rigged. It was going to be stolen. He said it in 2020. He's saying it now. You all have not attempted to, shut him down in that respect or get him to, come to a rational basis. You all have allowed him to constantly undermine the integrity of elections. So the projection here and the irony are just so thick. You might be thinking, wow, we can't possibly handle any more of that. Well, there's more. So let's unpack this.
It's sad that we are even talking about this right now in America. To disenfranchise so many millions of people from voting for their candidate is a downright shame.
So that's another interesting claim she makes. How dare you try to disenfranchise millions of voters from making their preference? Except that's what Trump tried to do in the 2020 election when he conspired, when he schemed to steal the election from Joe Biden. There was an attempted theft of the 2020 election. It was just by Trump. Trump tried to steal the election, a free and fair election in which Joe Biden, quite frankly, kicked his ass, beat him by more than 7 million popular votes, and then won the Electoral College by the same margin that Donald Trump won the Electoral College in 2016. It was a decisive and brutal defeat, all things considered. Donald Trump conspired to steal the election, which would have disenfranchised and defrauded 80 million voters, more than 80 million voters. And that's why he's being charged for, conspiracy to defraud the United States by special counsel Jack Smith. There's actual criminal evidence to support this particular crime of Donald Trump's, infinitely more than anything that Boebert could possibly allege here. So again, the projection, which is usually the case, when Republicans make an accusation, it's a confession. The projection is part and parcel of what this party has become because, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, but it's simply true, Republican elected officials are just objectively morally inferior to Democratic elected officials. Not that Democrats are perfect by any stretch, but it's just the superior party with respect to elected officials. The Republican Party is so corrupt and venal and hypocritical and unprincipled in a staggering, cartoonishly villainous way. It's insane. But since they're now interested in what democracy is, right now they're interested in majority rule. Now they're appealing to majority rule. It may behoove Lauren Boebert to realize that according to polls, more Americans than not support kicking Donald Trump off the ballot because of insurrection. This has been recent reporting, I think, for about a week now. More than half of Americans approve of the Colorado ruling to bar Trump from the state's ballot. So let's see here. Nearly 2/3 of Democrats, 63%, strongly approve of the ruling, according to the poll, with another 21% somewhat approving. Independents were split, but a larger proportion support the decision, 48% to 35%. About a quarter of Republicans said they support the ruling, with 12% strongly supporting it. Okay. And this was, I think, from YouGov, one of the most reputable pollsters that we possibly have. So right now, at least, there seems to be Democratic support with respect to majority rule. So let's think about Lauren Boebert's claim. It has constitutional basis, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment, which, of course, Lauren Boebert knows nothing about because she's a Republican elected official, and therefore she tends to be stupid, as most of them are. She certainly has no real meaningful legal background. Constitutional scholars of all points on the political compass say that this case and this argument have basis to it. So there is a constitutional basis for it. There's constitutional scholarship behind it. It was decided in the courts, right? Somebody made Republican voters, independent voters in Colorado, filed the lawsuit. It went its way through district court. It was reviewed by the Colorado Supreme Court. It will be reviewed more than likely by the U.S. Supreme Court. So it's going through the proper channels. It has popular backing, at least according to recent polling from reputable pollsters. So it seems like check, 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 check. Democrats really have nothing to do with this other than the fact that many of us actively support the outcome. But Democrats didn't make this decision. It wasn't a Democratic president. It wasn't Joe Biden. It wasn't the Democratic Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, in Colorado. She was actually party to the lawsuit. They sued her. They're trying to sue her to force her to kick Trump off the ballot. So Lauren Boebert was basically wrong about everything. And again, the hypocrisy. Republicans fear free and fair elections. That's why they appeal to anti-majoritarian institutions like the Electoral College. That's why they want to make voting so damn hard. They want to make it hard for maximum eligible voter turnout to manifest. They're the ones who ceaselessly, unendingly try to undermine election integrity, which is why 70 to 80% of the Republican voting base think that the 2020 election was stolen, even though it was laughed out of court 60 times, often in front of Trump-supporting conservative judges. It's just one defeat after another. Now they don't like it. They don't like the fact that, that Donald Trump may very well not be above the Constitution. Because, of course, to Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene and many other Republicans in this country, Donald Trump is a cult leader. Donald Trump, when he said years ago that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose a single vote, that was the most disturbingly honest thing that man, who is otherwise a pathologically lying, malignant narcissist, has ever said. The Republican Party is a cult. And the fact that there may very well be constitutional or legal consequences to his actions terrifies them. But it titillates me, and it should titillate you, and it should excite us, and we should make fun of them every chance we get and rub it in their faces. Let me know what you think in the comments.